Good afternoon. Today is April 13th and I am standing in an alfalfa field here in Maryland. Today we are sampling alfalfa weevil. It's one of two major insect pests of alfalfa. The second one being potato leafhopper, which comes up from the south usually around the middle to late May. Alfalfa weevil overwinters as an adult, but in our area before it does that we have such a long late summer, early fall period that it is able to mate and begin laying eggs in the crop before wintertime temperatures force it to seek overwintering habitat outside of the field. In the early spring, it'll come back from sheltered locations in the woods to mate and continue laying eggs. So in the mid-Atlantic, what that means is that we have this continuous alfalfa weevil larval egg hatch in the early spring. So even though today is April 13th, we were picking up small alfalfa weevil almost a month ago. This field was well over threshold and needed to be treated. So today we're going to briefly describe how to sample for alfalfa, and you can find our alfalfa weevil insecticide recommendations and a dynamic threshold table on our website. That threshold table takes into account the cost of control, the value of the alfalfa, and the plant height. And it'll give you pretty good thresholds for how many weevils per 30 stems. So right now I'm going to quickly sample some stems for you, and we're going to count the number of weevils. It's important to do this regularly in the springtime. Although the rest of this field has been treated, because we have that continuous egg hatch, it may still be above threshold enough for a second treatment. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. We've got our alfalfa stems. One of the easiest ways to sample for alfalfa weevil is to bang these stems into the inside of a bucket. That will dislodge the larger larvae. Now in the early spring, it doesn't dislodge the smallest of larvae. So you may still need to look at those terminals to find small larvae. Now ideally, I would have sampled and gotten my 30 stems randomly from across the whole field, but for the purposes of demonstration, I just picked samples that were fairly close by. The other thing you will want to do is, because that threshold is dynamic based on the plant height, you will want to take a ruler and measure a few of your stems to get an average height. As the season progresses and we start approaching flowering, you may be able to cut the alfalfa early as opposed to treating one more time. Alright, so now I'm going to look in my bucket for alfalfa weevil. Alright, so I've banged 15 stems, and just taking a quick look, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 larvae, 9 larvae. So when I go to that threshold table, I know that this field at the moment does not need to be retreated. Something else that is really important to consider when making an insecticide application, especially an application in March or early April, is the weather. We can still get cold fronts that move through and push temperatures below the target degree days that alfalfa weevil needs to be active, and that's 48 degrees. So a couple weeks ago we had days that didn't get above 50 and nights that were in the low 30s. On those days, alfalfa weevil is not moving around on the plant, it's not coming into contact with a spray. So if a cold front like that is forecast, wait a couple of days after the weather has moderated before making an application. That way those weevils are coming into contact with the spray when it is fresh on the plant. Beside me, we've got a spray trial that is evaluating all of the products that are labeled for alfalfa. Part of the reason why this is really important is because we only have a few insecticides that are labeled and very few modes of action. There have been complaints across the region from different farms of having inadequate control, because weather plays a big role in that, and because we've got such a long alfalfa weevil egg hatch period, it's not necessarily because of resistance, but that's why we have put this trial out here. And you can see where our untreated check plot was in this field. It's pretty distinctive. So that just furthermore shows the value and the importance of scouting alfalfa regularly. If we came in 3 or 4 weeks late, we would have lost a lot of the potential crop. We put in this spray trial 2 weeks ago, and you can already see where that untreated check plot is. For more information, feel free to visit our website or contact me or your local friendly extension entomologist or county agent for any questions or concerns that you may have with alfalfa insect pest management.